Mike's Daily Podcast.
Hi there. I'm at Cafe Anyway somewhere in Podcastro Valley.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
It's good to be here. It's a podcast that's done daily. Well, sometimes I get interrupted. Then I sometimes become a volcano and I am disrupted. Or is it erupted? Why, I'm not a volcano. I guess sometimes I get angry and I blow my top, is what I'm saying. Like Fred Flintstone.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Money! That was Fred Flintstone for you. My impression that
Mike's
I came up with
Daily
at 8 years old.
Podcast.
But here I am,
Yeah!
eons later, and I have to tell you, as a grown-up, was not that impressed with White Lotus. I've just, like I was saying on the last podcast, episode 2556, 5 rather, the one called Rivet, because it was riveting. It just, HBO does this thing where you know something is going to be shown to you that is shocking, and it's on its way, and you know it's on its way, and then it's suddenly there, and you're like, oh, okay. And the way they dealt with Jennifer Coolidge's character, I was not happy with. Some people thought, oh, that was clever. No, just, by the way, the British guy that she befriends, who leads to her undoing, I won't spoil too much here, he was in a show that I saw on BritBox. And it was actually pretty interesting. He is the pastor at an Anglican church. I think, is it called the rectory? Something like that. And it's on BritBox.
And here's today's podcast picture.
I am looking it up as I'm also telling you about the podcast picture today, where we are going to be showing you a picture from today. And the sky has been beautiful and the sunset was crazy. We got a little bit of rain here in Podcastro Valleyton, the last place on earth. And it was quite a lovely day. So see that picture at mikesdailypodcast.com. All the podcast pictures are there. And there's the late great Basil the Boxer. As we enjoyed many a great walk together and enjoyed the Bay Area. Well, I do not see it, what it was called. I'm trying to remember. It dealt with the fact that, like, there are these old cathedrals in England, and this particular cathedral was in a very not so nice neighborhood, and so this pastor was tasked with having to keep it in, good standing. And there were all kinds of things like people throwing rocks through the stained glass window. Not the Victor of Dibley. That's another one. The British sure like to do shows about pastors and priests and everybody else. But I'll find it at some point. Well, I guess Britain isn't so big with the Catholics. It's the Irish, as I understand how things are. Did you notice that? Did you notice I just stopped? Because I had to look them up. It was taking me for Rev. It's called Rev, not the rectory. Rev. And he's in it with Olivia Colman. So I was watching it. My girlfriend my lovely lady friend did not like it, so we stopped. But Tom Hollander is in White Lotus. He's been in a bunch of stuff. And it's interesting how Bing now pushes you to Wikipedia. They just go, yeah, we just know you want Wikipedia. Maybe they signed some deal with them. But he was also in Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, Pride and Prejudice, the one done by Joe Wright. I think that was he played Mr. Collins. I think that was the one with Kirsten Dunst. Kirstie Alley? No, Chris... that gal. Boy, I'm not remembering anybody's names today. Keira Knightley, thank you. I try to remember that name because there's a friend of mine who named his dog after Keira Knightley. The dog's name was Kira. It was a female pit bull who passed away a few years ago, but such a sweet dog. So I guess that Rev lasted 4 years, so that's 2 more years longer than White Lotus. But yes, that's TV Talk with Mike here on Mike's Daily Podcast. So we were talking a little bit about that balloon up in the sky that got shot down yesterday. Come fly away, my beautiful balloon. Yeah, he just did that. China has accused the U.S. of an overreaction. This according to the Washington Post. When it used a fighter jet to shoot down a suspected surveillance balloon.
Hi, I'm the Republican Senator from the fine state of Alabama. And I have this to say about Joe Biden. He should have shot it down as soon as it was in the airspace of America. Off the coast of the West Coast somewhere, even though we don't care about the left coast. We should have shot it down right here.
Wow. I was kind of going for a little bit of the Daniel Craig. Did you enjoy that? The Knives Out Daniel Craig? What was his name? I used to do this character. I had a segment. If I find the opener for it, I'll put it right here.
Will you shut ups? Liberty Nation Freedom Foam for All.
And William Shut Up sounded like this.
Hi, William, shut up. I want to tell you I'm really sick and tired of Biden and his lazy tuckus. Not blowing up stuff like he should. Blow it all up. Biden, just blow it up. Blow up the balloon. Blow it up, boom. Boom. I want to hear boom, boom. Biden, boom, boom, Biden, boom, boom.
Woo! A little bit of coffee today. Hey, I want to tell you the last podcast. I got dinged by YouTube. Yes, I did. Apparently, when I did the Mike Matthews New Tunes feud, I played a song that was copyrighted. Well, all songs are basically copyrighted, but apparently, check this out. This is what they sent to me, YouTube. And this is, I hate YouTube. I hate you, YouTube. And as we go outside a cafe anyway, we're bringing Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valleyton, the last place on earth. Look at that moon. Oh my gosh. Give me 1 second. I got to take a picture of that balloon. I mean, of the moon, not the balloon. Hopefully that's not a Chinese balloon flying overhead. That's a big orange. Is it a balloon or is it the moon? That's what I want to know. Well, I'll resume in a moment, but first this sound effect.
Oh, Mike, you're such a creative soul.
All right. Oh, thank you. Oh, I don't know if that lady's still alive. I hope she is. I recorded her a couple years back, and I remember she had some health issues I found out from someone who knew someone who knew someone. So here's the thing. It's just breathe. Yes, you need that oxygen to get into your blood cells and make you all healthy. This is what even like yoga people know. You got to breathe. Breathing exercises. So watch your breathing. Even when you're working out and you're lifting them weights, remember to breathe. Just breathe, like the Faith Hill said. And that Anna Nalick also said that. And Michelle Branch had a breathe song too. So many people had breathe songs. Every breath you take, the police, breathing. It's great, isn't it? Okay. The point is, I had a story, didn't I? Oh, I was telling you about China. They accused the U.S. of an overreaction when it used a fighter jet to shoot down a suspected surveillance balloon off the South Carolina coast, as nationalist Chinese commentators blamed runaway political pressure in Washington for escalating the incident. In a statement this morning, China's foreign ministry reiterated claims that the airship was a civilian vessel that had unexpectedly drifted off course. That is a lie. They have since taken the remains and have found, in fact, it was a surveillance balloon. The setback is an embarrassment for Chinese leader Xi Jinping, who began his norm-defying third term in office with a show of diplomatic friendliness that experts interpreted as a pragmatic effort to ease tensions with Western nations as he deals with internal discontent over a slowing economy and a huge wave of coronavirus infections. That's what's going on. When you got those internal problems, you know, after you've eaten too much popcorn, internal problems, right? Too many jalapeno poppers, internal problems. Too much booze, internal problems. In a world of drones and satellites, why use a spy balloon anyway? After initially subdued and jokey reaction on Chinese social media, the craft was dubbed the Wandering Balloon, a pun on Chinese sci-fi blockbuster The Wandering Earth. Did you watch that? Visually, it was amazing. I was like, no. I got about 20 minutes into it. I'm like, I can't deal with this kind of sci-fi today. So, according to the Washington Post, they described a reason for using the drones. Sorry, I got distracted again. Oi. That means I need to bring you another random sound effect.
And now we return you to our regularly scheduled program with Mike Matthews.
Balloons have an advantage over satellites because they are more maneuverable. The motion of a satellite is very predictable. A balloon offers the chance for an unexpected overflight to catch those you are observing by surprise, according to the Washington Post. Okay. There you go. A senior Biden administration official responded to China's statement by saying that the United States is confident the balloon was seeking to monitor sensitive military sites. Its route over the United States near many potential sensitive sites contradicts the Chinese government explanation that it is a weather balloon. Another question about all this, analysts are fearing that the eroded trust and limited communication between Washington and Beijing may allow for accidents from regular military exercises or surveillance operations to escalate into international incidents, which we don't want. The balloon incident shows that China needs to improve transparency when accidents occur, but such failures are mutual. An incident in 2021 where the U.S. waited days before publicly disclosing information about a nuclear-powered Navy submarine that was damaged during a collision in South China Sea also shows that both sides need to work out a way to react more immediately to accidents, says the Washington Post. Now, you might be saying, Mike, what about Bill Maher? Or maybe you're not saying that. Maybe you don't care. But Bill is concerned that the woke revolution isn't looking at the big picture of how it could all play out in history. Mr. Maher says the movement needs to study the part of revolutions where they spin out of control because the revolutionaries get so drunk on their own purifying elixir, they imagine they can reinvent the very nature of human beings. This was on Friday that he argued that communists thought selfishness could be cast out of human nature. Russian revolutionaries spoke of the new Soviet man who wasn't motivated by self-interest but instead wanted to be part of a collective. The problem with communism and with some very recent ideologies here at home is that they think you can change reality by screaming at it, said Bill Maher. That you can bend human nature by holding your breath. And you shouldn't hold your breath, you know you need to breathe. But that's the difference between reality and your mommy. Lincoln once said that you can repeal all past history, but you still cannot repeal human nature. And then he joked, but Lincoln's canceled now. Cancel, cancel, cancel. No. It's very Logan's Run, isn't it? Getting anybody over 30 blowing up in the sky over that in the carousel. That's what it seems to be. But that's the fear every generation has as they get older. Bill Maher is a Gen Xer, probably a baby boomer, somewhere in that vicinity. And he's just worried about what the youngins think. I'm 54. I don't care what the youngins think. They're going to think crazy things. I thought crazy things when I was young. The problem arises when no one listens. When Bill doesn't listen to what the young people are saying. When the young people don't listen to what us old folks say. And we got some experience they should listen to. But they got some pure insights, if we'll call it that. They're pure babes that just woken up, little deer, the does, if you will. Doe, a deer, a female deer. No, wait, that's not what I wanted. What's the young deer's called? A calf? A baby? Why would you use a balloon anyway? A young deer. Not a female deer. I guess they're just called deer? What is a young deer called? A baby deer is commonly referred to as a fawn. Thank you. Or a calf. I was partly right. A fawn. I'm very fond of that fawn. There. The fawn just walking in. Fresh eyes. That whole thing. And you have a certain cachet when you're young. Especially in today's world where YouTubers want to watch young people. Want to watch people with nice, clear, beautiful, smooth skin. HBO wants to... I was telling my lovely lady friend about that. About how HBO poaches the Disney Channel. All those super young people. My lovely lady friend is, by the way, sending me a bunch of text messages right now. Pictures. I've got so many choices for pictures for the podcast picture today. Oh my gosh, these are good. Oh, how nice. The big moon. But the thing is, what HBO does, and Bill Maher is on HBO, is they poach the youngins that come from the Disney Channel. And then they turn them into these sexualized objects that once they've gone that far, then there's no turning back. They're like, oh, you want HBO money? Here's what you have to do. You have to be nude or close to nude or in a bikini or be sexualized in some kind of odd situation. HBO, I hate HBO. I've been watching it all week. Thanks to the White Lotus. Hearing so much about that show. And I was just so unimpressed by the end of it. Oh my. I mean, Mike White, he writes some really funny dialogue. I was talking about that last podcast. And there is some interesting observations he makes in the first and the second season about how young people see the world versus older people. And Mike White is older. He's about my age. So he likes to throw that in. But still, I guess it just... Here's my problem, and my lovely lady friend agreed with me, is that they just, when they do a series for HBO or any channel, they have to stretch out the material. And sometimes that material is just too thin, and they pad it with all this filler that goes nowhere. And you feel like you've just wasted all that time. And every episode of that show is about an hour. So it's like, they could have edited this a little bit. Kind of like this podcast could have been edited. Wait, no, I did edit some of it. I stopped. I didn't include the whole 5 minutes when I was trying to find out who the heck Tom Hollander was. You're welcome. I could have edited out the part where I couldn't find out what fawn, the name fawn was. Or a young deer. They're herbivores, by the way. They like to eat leaves, grass, and lichen. Isn't that fascinating? Okay. outside a cafe anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Podcastro Valley, Tin, look who's here. Hi, Mac. It's Benita the Rodeo Queen. How you doing? I ride my horse today. Hey, Nilly. Nice to see you.
After Disgruntled Fiddle Player, tell you what.
What?
All this woke nation stuff making me so mad. Go woke and go broke is what I say.
Wow, that's really original. Look who else is here.
Hello, Mike. I make delicious root beer. Have some of the...
What? Wow. That's strong. What's in there?
There's some lichen in there and some sea moss.
Wow. We're going real healthy. So the sea moss, you have to let soak. Did I mention this already? Otherwise, it's like you're eating or trying to drink one of those grape branches when you buy grapes at the supermarket and they got the little branches in the bag holding the grapes together. It's like you're trying to drink one of those branches. So you got to soak it and then you got to blend it up with the smoothie maker. And then you're good to go. And then it's supposed to have healing properties or some crazy stuff. Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much, YouTube, for banning me. That song that I played on the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud last podcast in episode 2555, they said a copyright owner using Content ID has claimed some material in your video. As a result, your video has been blocked in some countries. This means that your video is still up on YouTube. Oh, thank you, YouTube. That's so nice of you. But people in some countries may not be able to see it. It's not a copyright strike, like I got the time when I was talking about... Oh, I better not talk about it. All right, well, let's just say I was talking about harvesting, but not the type of harvesting like harvesting grains or stuff like that. Let's say what I was talking about was harvesting something that rhymes with mallet. It was like mallet harvesting, but not, if you catch my drift. And then the other thing they dinged me for was, and all I was trying to do was find out what that was. I was investigating what that type of harvesting was. But nope, they dinged me. And then the other copyright, or whatever they call it, strike that I got, when I was reading some stuff from the CDC, from the actual government, for the disease control people, they of our own, the people, the big people that know all the stuff about diseases. I got another picture. Gosh, how many pictures can you send me about the moon? They said to me, the Center for Disease Control, they said on their website some stuff about the vaccines. And I wanted to talk about that. And when I did, YouTube dinged me. They struck me. They took the whole video down. And then I was banned for a week. Me! I've got like 20 followers. And I don't even think they're alive, whoever the followers are. I don't think they're real. So, they say this is not a copyright strike. This claim does not affect your account status. Thank you. I make $0 on my YouTube account. But the song was called Lose My Mind. It was that song, Lose My Mind. I forget who did it, but nobody voted for it. Which, if you still want to vote for any of the songs I played on the Mike Matthews New Tunes Feud, you can still call me at 510-228-4640, 510-228-4640. And apparently, it was claimed by something called UMG, and it is blocked. It's not blocked here in the US, that podcast I did, the last one, because I played that song. And I only played a snippet of it. I don't know what they're going crazy about. I didn't play the whole song. And it's blocked, apparently, in a country, you won't believe where. Russia. Yes. Belarus, Russia is where it is blocked. Why this can happen? Your video might contain copyrighted content. Copyright owners can choose to block your YouTube videos that contain their content. If this copyright claim is valid, you don't need to take any action or delete your video. How to unblock your video. Something went wrong. The copyright owner or our system made a mistake. We have a dispute process. Please only use if you're confident you have the rights to use all the content in your video. Let me just tell you, if you ever try to dispute YouTube, you will lose. You will always lose because they do not listen. They don't even look at your email or your comment or your complaint, which I tried to do with the 2 times I got strikes. You can also remove the claimed content using Studio's editing tools. Now, no, I'm not even gonna touch it. I'm just gonna talk about it on my podcast and complain about it. When choosing music for your next video, you can avoid copyrighted issues by picking a song from the YouTube audio library. We're adding new tracks all the time. Ooh, there you go. Except I don't play the whole song. I play just a little clip. Dang. They're strict. Now, just like all the conservatives, I hate YouTube. Hey, speaking of Republicans, they're saying to the federal workers, show up! According to the website Just the News, the Republican-led House of Representatives is voting on a bill that would bring more federal employees back to offices in Washington, D.C. The Stopping Home Office Works Unproductive Problems Act. Yes. Or Show Up is the acronym. The Show Up Act of 2023 requires each executive agency to reinstate the telework policies that were in place on December 31st of 2019. Yes, the end of the year just before COVID hit us. Washington Times says the Show Up Act comes a day after House Republicans passed the bill to end the COVID-19 public health emergency. Mr. Biden declared that he extended the national emergency for COVID-19 pandemic until May 11th to, quote, get everything done, explaining after the announcement that the Supreme Court prepares for February arguments on his attempt to put $400 billion towards student loan forgiveness by referencing the emergency. So you can see how this is all stacking up and what's on the agenda, on the docket, as they say. The Stopping Home Office Works Unproductive Problems Act, or Show Up Act. Show Up. Wow, that's brilliant how they put that together. Then it's people not showing up. Maybe they're not going to show up at all because they're being laid off. Not just the tech industry, now it's FedEx. According to Insider.com, FedEx is laying off more than 10% of its directors and officers as it continues to cut costs. The company told staff the company has more than 500,000 employees, but the exact number of layoffs was not specified. A former FedEx executive estimates that thousands are losing their jobs when it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. And the person bringing it is going to get fired after they bring it to you overnight. A FedEx spokesperson told Insider the company has reduced its U.S. workforce by more than 12,000 through attrition and, quote, headcount management initiatives since the start of the fiscal year in 2023. And the Wall Street Journal says the cuts come a day after United Parcel Service said that it was facing a slowdown in global delivery volumes and forecasts that its sales for the year could decline for the first time since 2009, according to the Wall Street Journal. And finally, Nikki Haley. You remember her from Hawaii and the first season of White Lotus. No, wait. Hawaii was in the first season of White Lotus. I don't know if Nikki Haley was. According to CBS, the former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations. Oh, wait, I'm thinking of someone else. Sorry. Nikki Haley, a former U.S. ambassador to the United Nations and South Carolina governor. Why was I thinking Hawaii? I'm thinking of the other lady. Tulsi Gabbard is what I meant. All right, well... And you're welcome. I put all that. I took all that. I edited all that, the part where I was looking for her name, and the name of a young deer. So Nikki Haley, and I remember when they were talking to her and asking her, are you going to run? And she goes, oh, no, Trump, my former boss, I wouldn't get in the way of him at all, no. Well, now she is expected to officially announce her 2024 presidential run on February 15th in Charleston.
The front panel will close automatically.
So that is on its way. Nikki would become the first Republican candidate to join former President Donald Trump in the Republican presidential primary. Wow. I remember, didn't she resign? She had some kind of dispute with him, possibly.
Wrong.
Oh, no, everything was fine.
Because you'd be in jail.
According to Trump. But there was something that set her off that she wanted to get out. But that is, I applaud her for running against Trump. Now, what may end up happening is everybody wants Trump to run, so he wins the Republican nomination, and then he picks her to be his vice president, because he certainly isn't going to pick Pence again. But that young guy who's ultra conservative and is on the radio constantly and has this big old radio national syndicated thing and a big podcast and all kinds of stuff going on. Charlie Kirk, he said Nikki Haley will run for president in 2024. Haley reportedly called President Trump ahead of her decision and told him she would, quote, like to consider it. The president responded with, and yeah, he still calls Trump the president. The president responded with, go by your heart if you want to run. I think you should do it. So there you go. Everybody's happy. Hey, I got Charlie Kirk's email too, which is awesome. So one of these days, maybe he'll be on this podcast and I can be on his, and then I won't have to just the 20 followers on YouTube anymore. But Charlie's a big old anti-vaxxer. And some of the stuff he spouts out of his mouth, the stuff that flies out, I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Wow. But then a lot of anti-vax people, that's some of the stuff I go, wait, does that even work logically? Oh, which leads us to the last story today. Oh my, I didn't even get to this. I should get to this now. And you're welcome. I edited a bunch of other stuff trying to find this, and Fonz and Nikki Haley and Tulsi Gabbard. And this was about Dr. Peter McCulloch, speaking of anti-vaxxers. According to the Daily Wire, a district judge vindicated Texas cardiologist and outspoken COVID vaccine critic Dr. Peter McCulloch on Wednesday, dismissing a lawsuit filed against him approximately 2 years ago by his former employer, Baylor Scott and White Health System. McCulloch, dubbed a prominent purveyor of COVID misinformation by his detractors, was sued by the health system 2 years ago for allegedly violating a separation agreement and bringing the Baylor Scott and White Health name into the media. Now, Associate Judge Tahira Khan Merritt of the Judicial Committee of the Judicial District Court Dallas County is how that should have been written, dismissed the suit with prejudice. Dr. Anthony Hinton said, Dr. Peter McCulloch wins an important legal case in the U.S. All doctors have a right to freedom of speech and a duty to speak the truth to protect patients. A good day for ethical caring doctors and their patients around the world. Wow. Yeah, so that vindicates Peter McCulloch completely, and everything he says is absolutely true because of some associate judge in Dallas where, hey, maybe there's some anti-vaxxers living in Dallas County. Maybe, possibly. You think? I don't know. I'm not a doctor, Jim. I just know that when I got COVID, it could have been a heck of a lot worse. But I did have all my shots, all my jabs, as the anti-vaxxers like to say, jabs. And so it wasn't as bad. I will say, I still got that weird thing going on my left ear. I don't know if that was because of the COVID or the vaccine or the fact that I had to use a very loud vacuum cleaner to suck up all the water in my basement because of the December 31st crazy California flood. As we said goodbye to 2022 in a big way with a flood because it's California and it got all biblical up in here. I don't know. Cafe anyway. But you can tell me what you think. Call the number that I mentioned earlier that's on my website, 510-228-4640, and leave a message. Call me here at Cafe Anyway, where it's beautiful and the moon's outside and it's beautiful. It's so romantic. When that moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, it's amore. Look out. 510-228-4640. And for other ways to reach me, and of course the website, Mike'sDailyPodcast.com, all that information, now it's A-Frame.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at Mike'sDailyPodcast.com. Email Mike now at Mike'sDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.